Take that, Gritty. It's Tusky time. The Utah Mammoth pull off an incredible come from behind 5-4 overtime victory over the Flyers. Hey, where'd that 3-0 lead go? I don't know. It just disappeared. We're going to cover the game and a bit more on this episode of SLC Puck. So cue the music. Here we go. What's up, everybody? Welcome to SLC Puck! I'm your host, Austin Facer, and my hand is throbbing, but I couldn't care less because I just witnessed not too long ago. It wasn't that long ago. It was about 40 minutes ago, maybe less, maybe 30 minutes removed from the thrilling conclusion of what can only be described as the best night of the year, the best night of the season. Sir, I would say this: we're 21 days into 2026. This has been the best night of the year for the Utah Mammoth. A thrilling 5-4 overtime victory over the Philadelphia Flyers that included just some of the most captivating moments that we've seen in a Utah Mammoth game in franchise history, right? We saw the franchise's first ever goal with an extra attacker. Utah goes 6-on-5 in the last, I want to say, minute 45 to tie the game up at 4-all. And then they get the winner in OT. Both of those goals, I'll add, scored by the captain. Clayton Keller is the hero tonight. I don't know what it is with these games against the Flyers. They seem to be very exciting. Last year, Dylan Guenther was the hero with his game winner right at the death of the game. I remember this one very clearly. I was in the building for that one as well. Dylan Guenther crosses the blue line. I believe it was overtime. Rips one from just inside the blue line. Puts it past the Phillies netminder. I can't remember who was in net that night. It didn't matter. He felt dumb. He let Dylan Guenther score the game winner. I'll tell you who felt dumb tonight for the probably everybody on the Philadelphia Flyers, I would add, felt dumb, including their netminder. I believe they had Irvinson in goal, I think is how you say his name. Anyway, he's awful. He feels dumb. It was so funny. I was walking out of the Delta Center, and maybe I should just say I was floating out of the Delta Center. I was skipping, and I heard these Flyers fans behind me. They're like, "I can't believe they gave the frickin' game away. Let's go get a cheesesteak." You know, that was kind of their energy. But hey, if you're over at Moochie's right now, drowning your sorrows in cheesesteak, you know, you're feeling bad. If you're here at SLC Puck Studios, you're feeling amazing. And let's just get into this game. So much to talk about, so much drama, so many incredible moments on a Wednesday night. Really quick, let me just give a big shout out to our sponsors, Craig Swap and Associates. One call, that's all. Swap wins. And a really, really big shout out to Jonathan's Jewelry. You can see the QR code over there. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can scan and win a $250 gift card. They give one of those out for every episode of SLC Puck. And they give a $100 discount to all SLC Puck listeners. And if you're not seeing the QR code because you're listening to this in your car, just go to the link in the episode description. It'll take you there, and you can participate in the raffle that way. But my goodness, this was such an incredible game, and just to kind of put you behind the curtain here at SLC Puck Studios. If you've been listening to the show regularly, you know that I do it on a schedule. I'm noted for my consistency. It's just what I do. I don't know if the show is always good, but the show is always done on Wednesdays and Sundays. And the Wednesday nights are always kind of a tricky one, especially when there's a game being played that night, because I know that like whatever happens in the game is really going to affect my mood, for one. And if you've been listening to the show, if I record on a Wednesday, and I'll just give you an example here, just looking back, there were quite a few of these in November that put me in a sour mood, a couple in December as well. My mood drastically changes when I record these following a loss. And oftentimes that can be a bummer because maybe some good stuff happened between the previous Sunday episode and that Wednesday episode. and that gets overshadowed by my emotions. This one I think is correct. I think I'm hitting the right notes here with my emotions, because I'm feeling this way not just because of the outcome of this game, as thrilling as it was, but I feel like right now as Utah Mammoth fans, we have to be just elated, floating over the moon, skipping. If we're going to Moochie's, we're going to celebrate. That's what we're going to do. We're not drowning our sorrows in cheesesteak. We're lifting it in joy. A cheesesteak over our head, spiking it on the ground in defiance of the Philadelphia culture. Because that was just, to me, the story of the game was defiance, was grit, was physicality, was resilience, I think, more than anything. Because this game was one that, like, looked like it was getting out of hand, like, pretty quick. You know, the Philadelphia scores 30 seconds into the game. They pick up their second as well to make it 2-0 in the first period. I kind of felt like, okay, they're lucky to only go into that first intermission down 2-0. That's not insurmountable. But then what do? 1 minute into the second period, they score again, and Utah's down 3-0. And I'm like, great. Utah just is going to have a sour note to end what was an otherwise melodic, I guess you could say, homestand. You know, they had some big wins over this homestand. They beat my expectations in a big way. I'm like, you know what? Bummer. It's too bad. Yeah, people are gonna know that I'm bummed out, and I really shouldn't be that bummed out. But then things changed, and they changed really quickly. Utah gets 2 goals within 36 seconds of each other to break the Phillies stalemate, I guess you could say, to make the game a 3-2 one. And then Philly comes back, scores again to make it 4-2. And I'm like, dang, you know, at least they got a couple on the board. You know, I think you know, that's a positive that we can take away. But again, what I really loved about this game is it didn't end when Utah was down. They kept fighting, they kept working, they kept digging, and it paid off in a huge way. There were so many moments where they showed that they weren't going down without a fight. And I think that it was like a huge learning moment for this team. Or like, I think like maybe back in November, certainly, or like, you know, earlier in the year, you know, they go down 3-0 and, you know, maybe the night's over. You know, they did come back from 3-0 earlier in the year once, right? They beat Pittsburgh in an overtime game as well to get the win. But, you know, again, I think this team it's been so up and down. And, you know, I thought, you know, maybe they're just going to resign themselves to the fact that, yeah, it was a good homestand, and, you know, we got to gear up for this really tough road trip we have coming up. But there were just moments where, like, it was like, no, this team knows that it's critical to get every point at this point. It would be ridiculous to throw any game away, to throw in the towel at any point of any game the rest of the way. The first clue that I got that Utah was taking this game seriously, despite the big deficit, right after Philadelphia scored their third goal. And let me remember who that was from. Again, this is like one of the downsides of watching the game in person is I don't have my ESPN play-by-play on me while I'm watching the game. That would be insane to be glued to my phone, which a lot of people are, to be honest. A lot of people are glued to their phone while the game is going on. That's the kind of thing my nephew needs to do, by the way, because he's 3 and, you know, his attention span lasts, you know, is measured in nanoseconds, so he has to watch Bluey, you know, which, by the way, drives me crazy. I'm always like nudging him, like, hey, you've seen this episode of Bluey 60 times. There's a freaking incredible thing happening right in front of you in 3 dimensions. But, you know, I digress. Anyway, Philadelphia scores their third goal. Like I said, a minute into the second, Bobby Brink scores on a power play assisted by Trevor Zegras and Jamie Drysdale. And again, you're like, all right, maybe this one's over. Maybe they need to think about, you know, pulling Veggie if he lets in another one, or maybe a fifth, right? I'm like, that's something they need to start thinking about. But nope, that's not what this team did. And you have to commend Andre Tourney for his coaching at this moment. What do they do right after that third goal, they send out their psychos. They put together like this crazy hybrid line centered by Jack McBain with Liam O'Brien on one side. What's his name? Brandon Tanev on the other. And I leaned over to Sammy and I said, those guys, it's not a coincidence. Those three are all out on the ice at the same time. They went out there and were wrecking havoc that shift. And my mother, who is now an astute hockey connoisseur, said and this is her understanding a bit of hockey culture here. She said, wow, they're like the Hanson brothers out there. And they literally were. They were throwing the body around. Tuna was trying to find a dance partner for a fight to get the boys going. Didn't get it right, but there was a fight later in the game. And this was the other clue that Utah was not going to give this game up at any point of the 63-minute or so battle with about 8 minutes to go. This was like an incredibly pivotal, fascinating moment that might get lost in all the excitement of the Clayton Keller goals with an S. Jack McBain gets roped into a fight. And what's interesting about that, I'm with all my excitement, I'm forgetting names here. He gets roped into a fight. Where's his name? What's up, guys? I've got a really exciting announcement. I'm going to interrupt the show for just a minute to let you know that we are back in biz. We are giving away a $250 gift card for every episode of SLC Puck, thanks to our good friends at Payne Anthony Creative Jewelers and Jonathan's Jewelry. These guys are awesome. They've got some of the best stuff in the world. Some of the most incredible antique jewelry, engagement rings, stuff to get you out of trouble too, stuff to just show someone that you care and you love them. You can find it all at Payne Anthony Creative Jewelers or Jonathan's Jewelry. They're upgrading their spots. They're upgrading their inventory all the time. So much great stuff. They hit up estate sales. They find all the incredible jewelry that person that you love is really going to enjoy. So make sure you get over there, enter this giveaway. It's the easiest giveaway you'll ever enter. Just scan this QR code right over here. You'll be prompted to send a text message. Hit send on that sucker, and you're entered, and we'll let you know if you're a winner of a $250 gift card. And even if you don't win, you can still benefit from this incredible partnership. Just head into either one of those locations. Payne Anthony Creative Jewelers is at Trolley Square. Jonathan's Jewelry, that's up in Cottonwood Heights. And just mention SLC Puck, and they'll knock $100 off your purchase, just like that. So big thanks to Payne Anthony Creative Jewelers and Jonathan's Jewelry for their support of SLC Puck and Utah hockey fans like you. Let's get back to the show. With Noah Juulsen. Yeah, that's right. Noah Juulsen picks a fight with Jack McBain with about 8:30 to go. Interestingly, he was obviously the instigator because he gets an additional penalty on this one for roughing. Anyway, he gets roped into a fight with Jack McBain. McBain absolutely smokes him on this one. McBain was going over the top, tried an undercut. I don't think he connected on this, but then just pelts Juulsen right on the cheek with a right cross that sent him like flying like 10 feet across. That's probably an exaggeration, but just like an unbelievable shot right to the face to win the fight. The whole building's going nuts. And now Utah's on the power play as well with that roughing tacked on to the major penalty. And you're like, this is a chance. This is where things are possible. And what does Utah do? They cash in on the opportunity. Incredible goal there. Again, I with all this excitement, I didn't have my game cast up. The scored by Barrett Hayton, yeah. So and they weren't sure who scored. It looked like Dylan Gunther had the shot, but I think it got a piece of Barrett Hayton on its way in. So Hayton's credited with that one, and then it's 4-3 for Utah with less than 8 minutes to go. So now. 4-3 for Philadelphia, excuse me, with less than 8 minutes to go, and you're like, okay, what's the next moment? There's still a lot of time for something to happen. Philadelphia is obviously on the ropes. They're reeling. That was a dumb penalty to take, an even dumber fight to lose, right? Don't pick a fight with Jack McBain. That's one thing Noah Juulsen learned, because you're going to look like an idiot. You're going to put your team in the box for 2 minutes. And it'll be decisive. It'll be the pivotal moment in a game. That was the lesson learned. Utah pulls their goalie, pulls Karel Vejmelka with about 1:40 to go. And there were some tremendous defensive zone plays to keep the puck out of the net. A goal by Philadelphia would have won the game for them, essentially. But just some fantastic plays. Nick Schmaltz made a crazy play to keep the puck in play, get possession back for Utah. It starts to go the other way. And then Clayton Keller cashes in, connects, scores with 35 seconds remaining left in the game. The place goes nuts. I posted a video on my social media screaming, just overjoyed at the moment here. I'll just play it for you guys, and it might be loud, and I'm not very confident in my equipment tonight, but let's see I want you guys to relive this here. I was so excited I did not know what to do with my hand right there. The place is just going berserk, right? And it just feels like it's our game to lose at that point. It's just there's too much momentum. Like things have shifted way too much. The 3-0 deficit feels like that was like 80 years ago. Did that even happen? It was like a blur. This is Utah's game to lose. They go to overtime. The place is rocking. For Whom the Bell Tolls is just blasting over the speakers. And I'm just looking down and I'm like, is there any doubt what's going to happen next? It felt like a movie. And we got that cinematic ending that we were seemingly promised. It was incredible. I'll tell you what, you don't want to miss these Philly games. When the Flyers are in town, there's just some sort of weird cosmic force that makes these just the must-see event of the year. You're going to see something that is just going to shock and awe you. And that's what it was. Clayton Keller gets the overtime winner. Super, super cool moment. He celebrates, he leans back, throws his fist in the air, threw his stick into the stands, gave somebody a souvenir that they will treasure for the rest of their life. And now we're sitting here. We're in a podcast studio in a basement owned by a very immature 33-year-old's mother. Not to say the mother is immature, but the 33-year-old is very immature. And I'm just over the moon. It is such a terrific, unbelievable nightcap, not only for this evening, but for this entire homestand. Utah goes 6-0-1, picks up a 13 out of a possible 14 points on this homestand. And again, it feels like these dark days are so far behind us, and the team is peaking at an incredibly advantageous time to do so. And hey, did you forget about something? Logan Cooley was not in the lineup for these guys. He's going to come back after the Olympics. You're looking for a big trade deadline acquisition? That's your guy right there. The guy who's already in your locker room, Logan Cooley. And I don't know. I think maybe this is a time for Utah to be a buyer for other players, teams looking to get rid of some players. You know, we saw the New York Rangers have publicly declared an interest in having a fire sale, stripping down their team for parts. I think Utah might be in the conversation for a guy like Vincent Trocheck. I think he would be an incredible fit for Utah. I put together a little trade package, what I think that could look like. And since I did the effort of doing so, I'm just going to show it to you guys. Again, this was going to be part of the plan. If things went sideways, I was just going to be a little bit sad and go over like the slideshow that I was working on today and be like, hey, good thing. But, we had to take a lot of time to celebrate the dub tonight. We know a lot of these New York Rangers are going to be on the market now. I think Vincent Trocheck is certainly one of those guys that Utah needs to call on. If you're in the Clean Hits Discord, you've seen Clean Hits Trent and a lot of the other guys concur with this. The trade package that I've imagined here would be one that brings Trocheck here. And just note the salary here. If you're watching this on YouTube, he's owed $5.625 million through 2029. We would Utah would then ship out Barrett Hayton, centerman, who is going to be a restricted free agent after the season, as well as Alex Kerfoot, who has been dealing with injury for the majority of this year. And he's owed $3 million for the rest of this year, and then he'll be an unrestricted free agent. And then Utah also throws in this year's first-round pick and a 2027 second. So that's the trade deal I'm imagining. I think this works as like a win-win for both teams, right? Utah would fill a need at center. Vincent Trocheck's one of the best face-off centermen in the NHL. He's going to represent the United States in the Olympics. So I think, there's certainly a pedigree there. We love our Olympians, don't we? Clayton Keller, the big hero tonight. New York would get guys who are, cost controlled, like Barrett Hayton, restricted free agent. They can control his fate. And then $3 million for Alex Kerfoot will come off the books for them and enable them to use that money in different ways. So that's the trade packaging that I'm imagining. Again, I had other things I wanted to talk about. There was other news to go over today. Josh Doan signed a gigantic contract extension with Buffalo, and it makes you think like, okay, who won that trade then? We sent Josh Doan, we sent Michael Kesselring to Buffalo, we got back JJ Peterka. I was operating under the thesis today when I was preparing the show that, perhaps Buffalo has a slight edge in how that trade looks today. But then sure enough, what happens in tonight's game? JJ Peterka scores a frickin' goal. And there you go, Austin. That's a point that you need to shelve for another day. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care about all these smart things and clever arguments that I've been working on since Sunday. Again, gearing up for the Wednesday show and sort of hoping things would go well, but not expecting to hinge the entire content of the episode. But we could talk about this game for eons. It was one for the books. I know there are surely a lot of people in the building on any given night that the Utah Mammoth are playing who are experiencing NHL hockey for the first time, might be experiencing hockey for the first time. I cannot think of a better game to send somebody to. Obviously you don't know, right? You're rolling the dice every time you buy a ticket, you go to the game, you're like, all right, well, see if we get our money's worth tonight. You sure as hell did in this one. You got bonus hockey too, and you got the thrill of a lifetime. And if you were sitting near the Rangers zone when Clayton Keller scored his game-winning goal, you got a stick too. Someone in the building got an incredible souvenir. Fantastic. The other thing that kind of adds to the magic of the story, and again, this goes back to the research that I was working on in preparation for the show. It works to a certain degree. Clayton Keller had kind of been slumping finding the back of the net this month, and I thought that was kind of an interesting thing to realize. He's only scored one goal so far in 2026. Coming into tonight, that one goal was in Utah's 7-2 butt kicking of the New York Islanders on the first. But since then, Utah's been having all this success. They've been racking up a lot of points, particularly over this last homestand. No goals by Clayton Keller until tonight. Pretty incredible how that works. I think he went, well, let's do the quick math here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games without a goal. But tonight, cashes in twice with two of the biggest goals that he's scored in a Utah Mammoth uniform.
Hurt in a car wreck, dog bite, slip and fall. Just call Quick Swap. One call, that's all.
After a car wreck, dealing with big insurance companies on your own can hurt your case. One call, that's all means we take care of everything. From dealing with insurance companies to helping you find doctors and repair shops, we're here to guide you from start to finish. Call Craig Swap & Associates today at 801-444-4444.
One call, that's all.
Just again, I think there's so much else that can say. I think so many people deserve a lot of credit for this victory. Karel Vejmelka showed incredible resilience too, staying in net, especially after surrendering a goal 30 seconds in, and then the third one just a minute into the second period. I thought he had a good game despite that. He made some saves that kept Utah alive, some saves that he perhaps I think any other goalie, or a lot of other goalies, wouldn't have been able to. But again, his keeping the puck out at these critical moments gave Utah a chance. That second period by Utah was truly magical, I guess, to get the 2 goals in 36 seconds. Those goals were both scored by our good friends Paterka, like I said, and Lawson Krause with the second. Again, those were just 36 seconds apart. Fantastic game by Nick Schmaltz. He had a lot of great shots on net. He gets 2 assists in this one. I think Nick Schmaltz has flipped the narrative on himself over this homestand as well. I wish I had stats over the entire homestand for Nick Schmaltz, but he's been quite good. He's been quite hot. But the what people are going to remember about this game for sure is Clayton Keller, and I think that's just that's what you want to see out of your captain, because that's kind of where it all starts, right? And the theme of this game was definitely the resilience, the grit, the never surrender attitude, and that starts with your captain. And we're not in the locker rooms between periods. We don't know what gets said. I have to imagine though, like Clayton Keller is a vocal guy, and he's inspiring his teammates. That's why he wears the C on his jersey. Give him his flowers tonight. Like what an incredible outing. It feels like pretty remarkable that this guy is here on our team and doing so well, especially in considering like what he's been through this year with the death of his father, and kind of just the whole emotional roller coaster of it all. Again, being in Utah, I'm sure still feels a little weird to some of these guys. He's going to the Olympics. That was like a huge accomplishment for him as well. But gosh, what a great night. And I got to tell you, I think this also kind of sends a message to someone in Philadelphia in particular that I'm thinking of. Someone who says like, hey, we're saying, hey, we're here. Your reign of terror is over. We're not putting up with your crap anymore. We have our own furry little critter over here who can make some noise and cause a ruckus. That's right, you heard me, Gritty. Tusky's here. It's Tusky's time. Tusky's the king, and the crown is ours. And what can you say to that, Gritty? We just won the game. We just kick your butt. That 3-0 lead, poof, gone. Go get a cheesesteak. Cry about it. Unbelievable. So just like I said, just a night to remember for sure. Great night to do a podcast too. I don't know if this was any good, but I said, hey, as soon as I came in the door from the game, I said, let's get the mics on. Let's fire them up. We got to talk here. So hopefully I encapsulated the enthusiasm of the moment and touched on like what the stories of the game were. 'Cause if you missed it, like go back and watch it. Really, go back and watch it. It was truly amazing. And now it's time to gear up. The Utah Mammoth have a gauntlet of a road trip coming up. They kick it off with a divisional matchup against the Nashville Predators this Saturday, which, by the way, is our SLC Puck VIP bowling watch party. We are basically sold out. We might have just a few spots remaining at the time of this publishing. So if you can see any tickets available, like just know that's it. Like we're almost full. So it's going to be a ton of fun. We're going to be bowling, watching that game on the big screen projector above the lanes for that one. January 26th and 27th, Utah Mammoth have a very difficult back-to-back against the I'm so euphoric, like I'm losing my words, against the Tampa Bay Lightning, who have been absolutely stellar as well over the last 2 or 3 weeks. Then they play Florida the next night. Matthew Kachukarama is back in action. Be interesting to see what Utah does at goaltender for either of those. You got to think they're going to split those between Veggie and Vanacek. My assumption is that they will perhaps give themselves a slightly better chance to win for the Tampa Bay game and then turn to Vitek Vanacek for the game on the 27th against Florida, which is exactly 24 hours later. And then they finish off the 4-game roadie with an absolute grindhouse of a finisher against the Carolina Hurricanes, one of the most difficult opponents. This is just a very tough road trip here. But again, this team is going to roll into this road trip with a ton of confidence. Confidence surely matters a lot. I think the Flyers had that coming into this game. They had a tough stretch. I believe they had lost like their last 6 games before their last one, which was a 2-1 win over the Vegas Golden Knights in Sin City. Travis Konecny scores a couple of breakaway goals to give the Flyers the win there. And then you could just kind of see how that confidence like kind of rolled over into tonight's game, particularly at the start against the Mammoth. But again, I think you have to give a ton of credit for how Utah responded to this. It was adversity. They took it in stride, and they found the best way to deal with adversity is to punch the crap out of it and to punch it in the mouth. Punch it in the side of the face as hard as you can, like Jack McBain did to again, I'm forgetting these names because I'm just losing my mind here. To Noah Juulsen. That's just the way it is. When you got a problem, just punch your way out of it. It's a great lesson for this young team to learn. So very, very happy, very euphoric, as I've said many, many times about tonight's win. Just feels great. Feels great. Now I feel like my heart rate is finally going down. So that to me is a signal that we should wrap it up. Thank you guys for tuning in to this episode of SLC Puck. Always so nice to talk to people at the arena who tell me they like the show, they listen to the show. It means a lot to you, to me, so I appreciate you so much. If you're new to the show, please like, comment, subscribe, come back and check us out again. We're the best. We're okay. We're pretty good. I think we're good. We're really good. We're like the Utah Mammoth. We're really good. Some nights we're really on. Anyway, we'll talk to you guys later.